Look at what you are wearing! She has no shame at all. This is a public disgrace. See? God ran out of paint. Please, let me through.
Somebody hose her down before it spreads. The line cuts across a packed Seoul sidewalk on a bright Tuesday morning, and for one ugly second, the whole street holds its breath. Then it laughs. Not a few people. All of them. At the center of it, a young woman stands perfectly still, like moving might make it worse. Elora Bassey, 23. Tall even in flat sandals, a dress the color of poured marble, blue, teal, thin rivers of gold, and skin that carries its own map, deep warm brown across most of her, then soft islands of pale scattered up her arms, over one shoulder, climbing the side of her throat to her jaw. Vitiligo. She's had it since she was 12. She's heard every word in the book. She just didn't expect a group of nuns to hand her the whole book at once. 4 of them have her half-circled, black habits, white collars, wooden rosaries swinging like little pendulums. The tallest one lifts a finger and points, not near her, at her, right at the pale patch spilling across her collarbone. See? God ran out of paint. The one beside her barely hides a grin. Mother always said the Lord marks his mistakes. A third leans in, stage whispering so the crowd gets to hear it too. Maybe it's a warning, so the rest of us keep our distance. I heard it's a curse, a bystander offers helpfully to no one in particular. It's not a curse, Elora says, tired, to all of them at once. It has a name. It's on the same internet you're all holding. Listen to her talk back. Sister Yoon tilts her head, delighted to be offended. Not a drop of shame. Why would I be ashamed? Elora's voice doesn't rise, but it doesn't shake either. I woke up, I got dressed, I walked to the corner. That's the whole crime. Phones are already up. A teenager films in landscape like he's covering a war. A mother tugs her little girl to the far side of the sidewalk. Somebody actually says gross out loud like Elora's a spill on the floor. Elora's jaw tightens. Her voice comes out low and even. Please, let me through. The 4th nun steps into her path instead. Reaches out, slow, curious, cruel, toward the pale skin on Elora's forearm. Does it come off if I don't? One word, male, quiet. Quiet in the way deep water is quiet, the kind you don't hear until you're already under. Everything stops. A black Genesis sedan has rolled to a dead halt in the middle of moving traffic, and not one car behind it dares lean on the horn. The driver's door opens. The man who climbs out is in no rush at all. Charcoal suit cut close, black hair combed straight back off his forehead. Ink runs up the left side of his neck and spreads across the backs of both hands, reaching for his knuckles. He isn't scowling. That's the part that drains the laughter out of the block. He isn't even frowning. He just looks at the 4 of them the way you'd look at a mess someone else made. Jae-yul. Behind him, 3 black SUVs slide to the curb in a line. Doors open. Men in dark suits step out, a lot of them, and none of them say a single thing. They don't have to. Silence, it turns out, is louder than any of them. The tallest nun recovers first, chin up. And who exactly are? He walks past her like she's a lamppost, straight to Elora. He looks at her hands, still shaking at her sides. Then, without one word about it, he takes off his suit jacket and settles it over her shoulders. The fabric swallows her. For the first time in 90 seconds, she can breathe. Only then does he turn around. He sweeps his eyes across every raised phone on the street. Delete it. All of it. Nobody moves. One of the suited men behind him smiles. A small, patient, unbothered smile. He said please. He did not say please. Phones vanish into pockets like the street just remembered it had somewhere to be. One kid is slower than the rest, still filming, mouth open. The smiling bodyguard doesn't step toward him. He just tilts his head, curious, patient, like he's got all day and every day after it. The phone goes into the pocket so fast the kid nearly drops it. Jae-yul looks back at Elora. 2 strangers, a stalled car, a sidewalk full of people who suddenly can't meet anyone's eyes. You're okay now, he says. She stares at him. People don't say that to me and mean it. I'm not people. Before we go 1 second further, if a stranger has ever stepped in for you when the whole room was against you, drop a in the comments so I know you're here, now. Watch what happens next, because the street is not done. Here's the thing about a crowd. It'll follow whoever's winning. 2 minutes ago, the crowd was with the nuns. Now, a police car noses through the gawkers, lights spinning, and the crowd is deciding in real time who the victim is going to be. The four sisters already know their answer. The tallest one, Sister Yoon, we'll learn her name soon enough, grabs an officer's sleeve and turns on the tears like a faucet. Officer, that man, he brought an army. He threatened women of God. We were praying, the second sniffles. We were only praying for her. The crowd shifts, murmurs. A couple of heads nod. Praying. Right, sure. And that's when a voice cracks the whole thing open. Liar, everyone turns. It's the old fruit seller from the corner stall, apron, gray stubble, a crate of persimmons still in his arms. He's been there since 6 a.m. He's seen the whole thing. Praying? He drops the crate on his table hard enough to make it jump. You circled that girl for 20 minutes. 20! I timed it because I kept waiting for one of you to stop the others. Not one of you did. Sister Yoon's face flickers. That's not... I've got it on tape. A college kid holds up his phone. The whole thing, from the beginning. So do I, says a woman with a stroller. I started recording because I thought she was famous, a teenager admits, quiet, ashamed. She just stood there and took it. I felt sick. My daughter has the same skin, a woman says suddenly, pushing to the front with a kid on her hip. The little girl has a pale patch over one eyebrow. The mother's voice climbs. She's 6, and you four do this? In a habit? What exactly are you teaching anybody? Sister Yoon tries to grab the room back. Ma'am, you don't understand the context. The context is you were laughing. The fruit seller, flat as a slammed door. There's no context that makes God ran out of paint holy. Somebody claps. Once. Hard. The crowd is turning. You can feel it move, like a tide deciding to go the other way. The officers exchange a look and start asking the sisters for names. And here's your first laugh, because this story will not let you sit in the tension too long. Sister number 3, sensing the room's about to flip, decides the moment calls for drama. She presses the back of her hand to her forehead, gasps like a silent film heroine, and faints. Backward. Nobody catches her. She hits the pavement with a soft, undignified whoomp. A beat of silence. Then she cracks one eye open to check if anyone's rushing to help. Nobody is. The fruit seller takes a slow bite of a persimmon and watches her like she's community theater. Is she all right? A tourist asks, not moving. She's fine, the fruit seller says around the fruit. She checked her landing first. The fainted nun's ear goes red, the specific red of a person who heard that and can't react without breaking character. So she doesn't. She commits. Sister, the fruit seller says gently, nudging a stray persimmon toward her with his shoe. Your rosary's in the gutter. Her hand shoots out on reflex, grabbing at empty air for a rosary that's still around her neck, then freezes mid-reach as she realizes the trap a half-second too late, one arm extended like a very devout zombie. The whole street loses it. She closes the eye again and stays down, committed to the bit, as if lying on a Seoul sidewalk long enough might reset the entire morning. It will not. Across the street, Jae-yul watches all of it from the open door of his car. No expression, arms folded, ink stark against his cuffs. One of his men steps close and lowers his voice. Boss, say the word and those 4 never work in this city again. I can make some calls before lunch. Jae-yul doesn't look at him. He's watching Elora, who's still wrapped in his jacket, still trembling, but standing, chin level, eyes forward, refusing to shrink. No calls, he says. Boss? You want to punish them? A pause. Let them keep talking. People always hang themselves with the rope they think is a ladder. He finally turns. Get the car warm, she's freezing. The man blinks. Of all the orders he expected, break them, bury them, buy the block. She's freezing was not on the list. But he goes. Elora, meanwhile, has caught the tail end of that. She steps toward Jae-yul, jacket sleeves flopping past her fingertips, and she is not soft about it. I don't need a rescue. I didn't offer one. You literally brought 3 SUVs. They came with me. I came for the traffic light. The corner of his mouth doesn't move, but something in his voice does. Standing in the road is dangerous. I was being a responsible driver. She stares at him. A laugh, almost, escapes her. She swallows it. "You're strange," she says. "I've been called worse." He glances at the sidewalk behind her, at the fainted nuns still refusing to rise, at the officers writing down names. "Today, by professionals. They called you a demon, actually. I heard mark of demons at least twice. They were pointing at you when they said it. Details." She pulls his jacket tighter, and only now notices she's still wearing it. "Oh, here, keep it. You'll give it back when you're less likely to fall over." "I'm not going to fall over. You said that 30 seconds before you fell over." She opens her mouth, closes it. He's got her, and the small, maddening, not quite smile at the corner of his mouth says he knows it. And despite everything, despite the shaking hands and the wet eyes and the whole street that watched her get torn apart, Elora huffs out one real surprised breath of a laugh. It's small. It's nothing. It's the first crack of light in the entire story, and you feel it land. "I can walk," Elora says. "Sure," Jae-yul says, opening the back door anyway. "I live 6 stops from here." "Great, I'll drive you 5.5 and you can win the argument for the last one." She turns to make her point properly, and the morning finally catches up with her all at once. The adrenaline that kept her standing drains out of her legs. The sidewalk tilts. He catches her before she knows she's falling. One arm, quick, sure, no fuss. She's suddenly close enough to see that his eyes aren't cold at all up close. They're just tired in a way that's had a lot of practice hiding. No music swells. Nobody says anything soft. He just steadies her, waits until her feet are under her again, and lets go the second she's steady, like he knows exactly how much a person hates being held up when they wanted to stand. "Okay," she breathes, maybe 4 stops. The car is warm and quiet, and it does not smell like a crime lord's car is supposed to smell. Elora clocks the details the way anyone would, hunting for the catch. There's a first aid kit, not the little glove box kind, the real kind, wall-mounted, restocked. A folded stack of clean blankets, bottled water, and books. A lot of books worn at the corners, dog-eared, actually read. Poetry, a battered Bible with a cracked spine, something in Korean about children's hospitals. None of it fits the story she's heard about this man. She picks up the Bible without thinking. Restorer's hands, always reaching for the cracked thing, and it falls open to a page gone soft from being read. There are notes in the margin, small, precise. You mark up your Bible. I argue with it. Mostly I lose. That's the most honest thing anyone's ever said about faith. She sets it back exactly where it was, spine squared, the way she'd handle a relic. The sisters this morning didn't look like people who argue with anything. People who never lose an argument usually stopped listening a long time ago. Because she has heard the story. Everybody in this city has. "You're him," she says slowly. "The one they whisper about. The internet says you're..." She stops. "Go ahead, say it. They say you run half the shadows in this city. They say people who cross you disappear." He doesn't deny it. He doesn't confirm it either. He just watches the buildings slide by. People say a lot of things about a man with tattoos and money and no interest in explaining himself. He glances at her. Same way they say things about a woman with beautiful skin and no interest in covering it up. "You don't get to call it beautiful," she says, but there's no heat in it. "You met me 40 minutes ago, next to a woman fake fainting for an audience. I met you standing still while 4 people tried to make you smaller, and you wouldn't give them the inch." He shrugs. "That told me more than 40 minutes usually does." That lands somewhere she wasn't guarding. She looks down at the pale islands on her hands. It's not beautiful. It's a diagnosis. So is being alive. Doesn't make it ugly. Silence. The good kind. The kind that isn't waiting to become talking. She finally asks, the question that's been sitting in her chest since the sidewalk. "Why did you stop?" "Really? You don't know me. You could have driven around it like everybody else." For a long moment she thinks he won't answer. His thumb runs once over the ink on his other hand. "Because nobody stopped for my mother," he says. "Not once. Not the whole time it would have mattered." He says it flat, factual, a door opened 1 inch and no further. He doesn't explain. He doesn't perform the pain. And somehow that makes it hit harder than any speech could. Elora doesn't push. She knows that door. She's got one just like it. "For what it's worth," she says instead, looking out her own window now, I'm sorry, no one stopped. For what it's worth, he answers, somebody's stopping now. Different girl, same street. I figure it counts sideways. She doesn't know what to do with that, so she does nothing with it and lets it sit there being kind. Up front, the driver clears his throat and, trying to lighten the air, offers helpfully, "Boss keeps snacks in the seat pocket, miss. For anyone who faints, we keep a very fainting-heavy schedule." Elora snorts. "Is that a common problem in your line of work?" "You'd be amazed," the driver says gravely. "Second faint I've seen today." "The first one was fake," Jae-yul notes. "So was the ambulance I almost called. It's been a very theatrical morning, boss." The driver checks his mirror. "Where am I taking the young lady? For the record, she said 4 stops, then 3, and I believe we're negotiating in real time." "You can drop me at the corner," Elora says. "I'll take you to your door," Jae-yul says. "That feels like a lot." "You collapsed on a sidewalk an hour ago. A lot is the correct amount. You can be furious about it from inside the warm car." She decides, just this once, to let someone do something for her. It's harder than the fainting was. From the back seat, Jae-yul almost smiles. "Here's what delete every video gets you in the year of our Lord, right now, today. Absolutely nothing. Because somebody already sent it to somebody, who sent it to somebody, and by the time Elora's key is in her apartment door, the clip is everywhere. It hits 3 million views before dinner. And the world does what the world does. It splits down the middle and starts yelling. Half the internet is horrified. Dermatologists post explainers. Vitiligo isn't contagious. It's an autoimmune condition, roughly 1 in 100 people. Here's the science. People with vitiligo flood the comments with their own photos. Hands, faces, unhidden, unbothered, gorgeous. A model reposts it with 4 words. Her skin is art. An artist paints Elora straight from the street footage, chin level, jacket too big, refusing to shrink, and titles it, "The Woman Who Wouldn't Bow." It sells within the week. The artist gives away every cent before Elora can even find out where to send a thank you. A children's doctor writes a thread that ends. "To every kid who saw this, you are not a mistake. You never were." A teacher posts, "Threw out my lesson plan and taught my class the science of vitiligo instead. Best class I've taught in years. Thank you, Elora, whoever you are." A grandfather films himself, gruff and awkward. "My granddaughter has this. Anyone laughing when we'll have a conversation. That's all. God bless." 2 million views. He has no idea how to stop the recording, and you watch him hunt for the button for a full 8 seconds. The internet adopts him on the spot. The other half does what that half always does. Doubts it. Staged. She wanted attention. Why was she dressed like that near a church? One account with an egg for a profile picture insists the whole thing is an ad for something, which is what people say when they can't stand that cruelty happens for free. The garbage finds its way to the top of every thread, the way garbage floats. By evening, there are reporters outside Elora's building. Not 1 or 2, a whole row, cameras like a hedge, microphones bristling. "Elora, how do you respond to the convent's statement? Are you pursuing legal action? Is it true you're dating a crime boss?" She stops on the step. Her whole life, she wanted people to look at her and see anything but the spots. Now everyone's looking, and she'd trade it all for an empty sidewalk. Her phone buzzes. One text from a number she added that morning without meaning to. "Don't answer anything tonight." Silence is a full sentence. J. A second buzz. Back entrance is through the laundromat. Ugly green door, go left. She almost laughs on her own doorstep. She goes left. And in the middle of the storm, the convent's PR office panics and does the single worst thing available. They post a statement. "It has come to our attention that a misunderstanding occurred. We regret any distress caused by an unfortunate misinterpretation of a private moment of prayer." A private moment of prayer on a public sidewalk with 20 witnesses and 4 cameras. The internet, which has never once let a misunderstanding occurred slide, sharpens its knives, and then somebody hands it the whole knife drawer. Because the clip everyone's been sharing? That's the short one, the clean one. The one that starts halfway in, someone uploads the full 7 minutes. From the beginning. Every word. God ran out of paint. The Lord marks his mistakes. Does it come off if I... All of it in high definition, time-stamped, undeniable. The statement doesn't age into a lie. It's born one. Overnight, the whole country turns. Elora calls him that night, overwhelmed. There are 11 million people arguing about my skin. 11 million. I don't want to be a topic. You're not a topic. You're a mirror, he says. Everybody arguing about you is really arguing about themselves, whether they'd have laughed or helped. That's not your weight to carry. Put the phone down, says the man who checks his constantly. I check mine to make sure nobody's coming for you. Different job. A pause. Eat something. You forget when you're scared. I can hear it in your voice. She looks at her untouched dinner. How do you know that? Because I do the same thing. Eat, Elora. She eats. Real question, and I actually want your answer. If you'd been standing on that street, phone in your hand, do you post it or do you step in? Comment post or step in? I read these. Okay, back to it because one of these nuns is about to end her own career with her own thumbs. And she does. Deep in the replies, one of the four sisters can't take it anymore. She fires off a defense of herself. You weren't there. She provoked us. The media edits everything. Righteous, furious, 3 exclamation points. She just forgets one thing. She's still logged into the official convent account. The whole country watches the sisters of the convent, verified badge and all, personally reply to a stranger to explain that the crying woman with vitiligo provoked 4 grown adults into a public prayer ambush. 14 seconds later, it's deleted. 14 seconds is a very long time on the internet. Screenshots, thousands of them. The comment is deleted. The comment is immortal. Somebody makes it a t-shirt before Elora has even finished her tea. Across town, Jae-yul scrolls through it once, sets his phone face down, and says to no one in particular, told you, rope, ladder. 3 days later, he finds her where she works. Not that she gave him the address. He's the kind of man who finds things. The studio is small, gold light, the smell of linseed and old varnish. It is also right now full of very large men in suits trying to stand very still among very fragile things. One is holding his breath near a rack of drying canvases, as if proximity alone might shatter them. Another has been staring at a jar of brushes for a full minute, afraid to move. They can wait outside, Elora calls without looking up, before one of them sneezes and ends the 17th century. Out, Jae-yul says. His men flee gratefully, folding themselves back through the tiny door like a magic trick in reverse. Elora's at a bench under a lamp, a 400-year-old portrait laid out in front of her, filling a crack in the paint so carefully you'd think the canvas could feel it. He watches from the doorway for a while before she speaks without turning around. You're blocking my light. You restore paintings. I fix things people wrote off as ruined. She sets down her brush. Somebody cracks, chips, water stains a face somebody loved, and they think it's garbage. It isn't. It's just waiting for someone patient enough to look closer. He steps in, looks at the portrait. A woman, centuries dead, half her face flaked away. How long have you done this? Since I was 17. It was the first place nobody stared at my hands. She flexes them, pale and brown under the lamp. Paint doesn't care what you look like. It just wants to be seen right. He picks up a fine steel pick from her bench and turns it over. So you make broken things look like they were never broken. No. She takes it back, gentle but firm, the way you take a scalpel from someone who doesn't know its weight. That's forgery. I don't hide the cracks. I stabilize them so they stop spreading, and I leave them exactly where they are. Good restoration. You can still see the history. You're just not afraid of it anymore. She sets the pick down. Erasing the damage is a lie. Making peace with it is the art. You're describing your own face. I'm describing a 400-year-old Dutch woman, actually. You're describing your own face, he says again, and won't let her off the hook. She goes back to work so she doesn't have to answer. When did it start? The vitiligo. Most people ask that like they're asking what's wrong with her. He asks it like he's asking what year she moved to the city. 12, she says. First spot, right here. She touches her wrist. By 14, it was my face. My father, she stops, starts again, steadier. My father was a religious man. He decided God was punishing the house through me. He'd pray over me at night, loud, long. Like, if he just believed hard enough, the spots would leave and take the shame with them. A small, dry breath. They didn't. So he stopped looking at me instead. Easier to pray over a daughter than to see one. Jae-yul doesn't say I'm sorry. He doesn't reach for her. He doesn't do a single one of the things people do when they want the sad part to be over so they can feel better. He just listens, all the way to the end. That's the first time I've said that out loud, she admits. I know, he says. You said it like it still weighs something. Silence. She picks the brush back up, mostly to have somewhere to put her hands. Your mother, she says carefully, in the car. You said nobody stopped for her. His jaw works once. He looks at the ruined painting instead of at her. She was from somewhere else, married in, never fit in, never let herself belong. People made sport of it. The way she talked, the way she looked, the fact that she was alone. He says it evenly, the way you read a report you've read 1,000 times. She got sick. I was young. I knocked on a lot of doors asking for help. Every one of them was too holy, too busy, or too clean to open. A pause. She died being polite to people who deserved none of it. He's quiet a moment. She sang when she cleaned, off-key, loud. She had no good reason to be happy, and she sang anyway, like she was daring the house to argue. A breath. That's the part I kept, not the wall, the singing. I'm just very bad at it. Sing something. Absolutely not. Coward. I have 20 men who'd take a bullet for me and not one has ever heard me sing. You've known me a week. So I'm special. He doesn't answer, but he doesn't say no either, and she files that away too. Elora's chest goes tight. So you built this? She gestures vaguely. The suit, the men, the rumors. A wall so tall nobody could ever look down on you again. Something like that. His eyes come back to her, and for once there's nothing guarded in them. You covered your skin so no one could aim at it. I built an army so no one would dare. Same wound, different armor. She doesn't have an answer for that. Neither do you. Then he says it, plain, like a fact he's tired of the world getting wrong. You're beautiful. She laughs, quick, reflexive, a shield sliding up. You're a terrible liar. No. He holds her eyes. The world just has bad eyesight. The brush goes still in her hand. She sets it down before she ruins 4 centuries of somebody's grandmother. You can't just say things like that. Why not? Because I have a system. Had it since I was 14. You compliment my skin. I decide you're lying. We both move on. She finally looks at him. You keep not lying. It's very inconvenient. I'll try to be more dishonest, he says, for your comfort. You'd think at this point the 4 sisters would kneel and apologize. You'd be adorable. Instead, they lawyer up. A slick attorney holds a press conference. He calls the full video maliciously edited. It's 7 unbroken minutes. There is nothing to edit. He calls the backlash a coordinated campaign of religious discrimination. He suggests, gently, with a straight face, that his clients are the real victims, here, hunted for their faith. Sister Yoon stands behind him, chin high, doing the wounded saint face she's clearly practiced. The internet briefly wobbles. Because that's the trick, isn't it? Say persecution loud enough and some people will forget they watched you point at a crying woman and laugh, and then the doors of the convent open, and out walks the one person nobody scheduled. Mother Agnes, 81 years old, a face like folded paper. She moves slow, leaning on a cane, and she waves the expensive lawyer out of her way like she's shooing a pigeon off a windowsill. She doesn't go to the cameras. She turns her back on them entirely. She looks for one person in that crowd, and she finds her. Elora, standing at the edge, half hidden, there because Jae-yul told her the truth deserved a witness. Mother Agnes walks straight to her. The whole press gaggle scrambles to follow. Child, she says, just that first. Look at me. Elora does. I was there. The old woman's voice shakes, but it carries. That morning, I was across the street and I saw the whole of it, and I did nothing but stand there and let my heart break quietly, which is the most useless thing an old woman can do. Her hands tighten on the cane. I have warned those 4 before, more than once, about their mouths, about their cruelty dressed up as devotion, and I told myself, they're young, they'll soften. I was wrong, and my cowardice let it grow, and it walked out onto that street and it landed on you. The cameras are rolling. She doesn't care. She isn't talking to them. They used scripture on you like a weapon, she goes on, so let me hand you the rest of the book, the part they skipped. Her old eyes don't waver. The Lord seeth not as man seeth, for man looketh on the outward appearance, but the Lord looketh on the heart. 1 Samuel chapter 16. They had that verse. They chose the ones that let them feel tall instead. And then Mother Agnes, head of the convent, bride of the church, 81 years old, bows to Elora, low as her back will let her. I am sorry, not the institution, me, an old woman who saw a child of God treated like a stain and was too slow to open her mouth. Forgive me if you can. Don't if you can't. Either way, I'll spend what's left of me making it right. Elora's tears come without permission. She reaches out and steadies the old woman before she topples from the bow. Get up, Elora whispers. Please, you're the first one who looked at my face instead of my skin. Don't you dare bow to me. Behind them, the lawyer quietly puts his notes back in his briefcase. There's nothing to spin anymore. You can't out-argue an 81-year-old telling the truth on her own 2 feet. Sister Yoon isn't done, though. Pride's a hard habit to bury. Mother, with respect, you're humiliating the order in front of... The order humiliated itself on a public street, Mother Agnes says without turning around. I'm the only one here trying to hand it back its dignity. Sit down, child. You've said enough this month to last 3 lifetimes. And Sister Yoon, for the first time on camera, has nothing. The mouth that had a verse for everything can't find a verse for this. She sits. Elora looks at the 4 of them. She could say something cruel. The whole country would cheer. Instead, she says the only thing that actually costs her anything. I forgive you. A beat. Not because you earned it, because I'm not carrying you around in my head one more day. You already took a morning. You don't get my year. It isn't soft. It isn't sweet. It's a woman setting down a weight, and it's the closest thing to a knockout the street will ever see. If Mother Agnes just got you, if you felt that one, do me a favor and hit subscribe, because stories like Elora's are the only thing I make on this channel, and the ending of this one is going to stay with you. Trust me. Now let's finish it. Everyone's waiting for Jae-yul to do the thing, the Mafia thing, the knock on the door, black glove, someone vanishes thing. He never does. Instead, a journalist, bored, ambitious, sure she's about to expose a crime lord, spends 3 weeks digging into where his money actually comes from. She expects laundering, fronts, ghosts. She even lands a meeting, sits across from him, recorder on the table, certain she's about to crack the story of her career. So, she says, the bodies, the debts, the shadow empire? Let's talk. He slides, a folder across the table. Tax filings, 10 years, audited, bore yourself to death. She flips through it, frowning harder with every page. This is clean. Disappointing, isn't it? Then why the men? The tattoos? Why let the whole city think, because when people are scared of you, they leave you alone. And when they leave you alone, you can help someone without a camera in your face. He stands and buttons his jacket. Print whatever you like. Just spell the center's name right. People need to know it's free. She finds shipping, logistics, cold, boring, legitimate, and enormous. She finds a man who came up from nothing and built it, brick by legal brick. And then she finds the part he never let anyone print. The shelters. 14 of them, quietly funded for a decade under a name that isn't his. Beds for people the city forgot, clinics with no cameras. The Korean Mafia boss, it turns out, is a ghost story the tabloids built because a man with tattoos and money and silence is more fun to fear than to understand. Same as a woman with beautiful skin, if you'll remember. The journalist scraps her expose and writes the truth instead. It goes viral too. He hates that. You could have just told people, Elora says when she reads it. Told people what? That I fund shelters? He shakes his head. Say it out loud and it becomes a costume, a brand. People start asking me to pose with the kids. No, you do it quiet or you're doing it for you. That's almost humble. It's ruining your whole terrifying thing. Please don't tell the city. Fear's very efficient. Nobody double parks near me. But that's not the revenge. Here's the revenge. There's a building directly beside the convent. Old, empty, for sale for years. Jae-yul buys it, cash, no haggling. The realtor, sweating, mentions the convent has concerns about the new neighbor. Good, Jae-yul says. Concerns keep people awake. Awake people sometimes learn things. And he turns it into a center, free skin clinic, free counseling, A whole floor for kids. Kids with vitiligo, with scars, with birthmarks, with every kind of skin the world taught them to hide. Dermatologists on staff, therapists, a wall in the lobby just for photos, sent in from around the world, of people's uncovered skin under 3 carved words, made in his image. And on the front of the building, where the whole street can read it, one line of scripture, the one the mob forgot on the sidewalk that day. He that is without sin among you, let him cast the first stone. He names the center after her, the Elora Center. He doesn't ask permission, which infuriates her, which is the only reason she doesn't cry when she sees the sign. Opening day. Thousands come. It's a party, a celebration, a block full of people who spent their lives covering up, standing in the sun uncovered. There's a ribbon. Jae-yul refuses to cut it. Cameras. So Elora does, and the second the scissors close, 100 people who've hidden their hands their whole lives lift them into the air at once, palms out, pale patches to the sky. Nobody organized it. It just happens, like the building exhaled. A dermatologist at the door tries to keep a running count and gives up at 400. A little boy asks if the face painting is only for people with the special skin. Elora tells him it's for anyone brave enough to look like they belong to something. He gets in line. And it happens to sit directly across the street from the convent. The 4 sisters watch from an upstairs window. They watch the crowd. They watch the laughter. They watch a little girl with pale patches on her cheeks get her face painted with more pale patches, on purpose, glitter this time, beaming like she's wearing a crown. Every cheer that drifts up to that window lands like a verdict. Nobody threw a punch. Nobody said their names. That's what makes it unbearable. The world simply got better right in front of them, and it did it without them, and it did it in her honor. Down in the crowd, Elora crouches to the glitter-patched little girl's eye level. You know what these are? She touches her own cheek, then the girl's painted one. The girl shrugs, shy. They're the places the light gets in. Everybody else is one color, all over. Boring. Elora leans in like it's a secret. We're a map. The girl considers this with the deadly seriousness of a 6-year-old. A map to where? Elora blinks. She doesn't have an answer ready, so she gives the true one. To people like us, so we can always find each other in a crowd. The girl nods, satisfied, and sprints off to show her mother the map on her face. And in the crowd, unnoticed, stands a teenager, the one from the first day, the one who started filming to mock her and stayed to feel sick about it. He steps up to Elora, hands shaking. It was me, he blurts. The full video, the 7-minute one. I posted it. I couldn't. Everyone was only seeing the short clip and they were still doubting you, so I posted the whole thing so they'd have to see what really happened. He swallows. I'm the reason it was on the street at all. I'm sorry. I just wanted to fix the one thing I could. Elora looks at this kid for a long moment, then she does the thing nobody did for her. She puts a hand on his shoulder. You looked closer, she says. Most people never do. We're okay. The kid nearly falls apart on the spot. Rain. The center's closed for the night, just the 2 of them, lights low, water running down the windows, the city all soft and blurry outside. Elora's sitting on the lobby steps. Jae-yul lowers himself down beside her, careful, like a man who isn't used to sitting on floors. Everyone's terrified of you, she says, watching the rain. The whole city. Should I be too? He considers it, honestly. Probably, he says. She laughs. And then, this is the part, he laughs. Not the almost laugh, not the ghost of one. A real one, low and surprised, like it caught him off guard on the way out, and Elora notices something she'll never be able to unnotice. When Jae-yul laughs for real, the feared man, the ghost story, the wall of a person, he closes his eyes. All the way. Like for 1 second, he trusts the world enough to stop watching it. It's the most human thing she's ever seen, and it undoes her a little. What? He says, catching her staring. Nothing. You close your eyes when you actually laugh. He blinks, oddly self-conscious for a man who commands rooms. I do not. You absolutely do. It's the least dangerous thing I've ever seen. Don't tell anyone. It'll ruin the whole operation. Your secret's safe. I restore things for a living, remember? I'm excellent at not telling people where the cracks are. He goes quiet. Then, not looking at her, low enough that the rain nearly takes it. You're the first person in a long time I didn't have to explain myself to. That's because I already knew the feeling. You don't explain a wall to somebody who lives behind one. Is that what we are? Two walls? Maybe. She bumps his shoulder with hers. But walls that lean on each other stop being walls. My structural engineer told me that, about a building. She smiles. I'm choosing to apply it emotionally. The rain comes down. The gap between them isn't a gap anymore. He turns to her. She turns to him. The whole world holds its breath the way it did on that sidewalk, except this time it's holding it for them. They lean in. Ham. The cough could shatter glass. It's the driver, standing in the doorway with an umbrella, radiating the profound apology of a man who has walked in at the exact wrong second and cannot leave because he holds the only keys. The car, you said 9. He gestures helplessly at the rain, the night, his own catastrophic timing. I'll wait, outside, in the storm. It's fine. It's what I deserve. Elora drops her forehead onto Jae-yul's shoulder, shaking with laughter. Jae-yul closes his eyes, laughing again, caught again, and points wordlessly at the door without lifting his head. Going, the driver says. Gone, never here. He is not gone. He stands under the awning, back turned, holding the umbrella like a soldier guarding the world's most delicate ceasefire. He's still there, Elora murmurs. He's always there. That's the whole job. Jae-yul doesn't move away from her. We could just let him hold the umbrella and ignore him. That's insane. I run a shipping company the entire city believes is a crime syndicate. Insane is on brand. She laughs, and this time, when he leans in, the driver has the grace to start whistling very loudly at the rain. Some kisses are better late anyway. Months pass. The four sisters are quietly removed from public ministry. And here's the twist the internet never got to enjoy. Jae-yul didn't do it. He never lifted a finger. The church investigated on its own. Mother Agnes made sure of that. Testimony. And all. And found a pattern going back years. No mob, no money. Just consequences finally catching up to people who thought a collar made them untouchable. Turns out the loudest revenge is the one you never take. You just step aside and let the truth walk in the front door. One autumn afternoon, Mother Agnes comes to the center. Slower now, but sharper than ever. She finds Elora in the children's wing and presses something into her hands. An old photograph, cracked at one corner, soft with age. Two young women, laughing, arms around each other, sun in their eyes. One of them is unmistakably Elora's mother. Elora has this same photo's twin in a drawer at home. The other woman is a stranger, dark-haired, an outsider's shyness in her smile. I found it in our archives, Mother Agnes says. Your mother volunteered with us decades ago before you were born. So did her dearest friend. Inseparable, the sisters used to say. Two women nobody else in this city would sit with. So they sat with each other. Elora's breath catches. Who's the center's front door opens. Jae-yul walks in and stops cold when he sees the photo in her hands, because he knows that face. It's his mother. They made a promise, Mother Agnes says softly, watching them both figure it out at the same time. It's written on the back. Elora turns it over. 2 lines in 2 different hands. If either of us has a child, the other's child will never stand alone. The room goes very quiet. Jae-yul looks at the photograph, then at Elora. 2 mothers the world spat on, who found each other, who made a pact over a child that neither of them lived to see grow up. So, he says finally, and his voice isn't quite steady. Our mothers set this up, years before that sidewalk, before either of us knew the other existed. Elora laughs through her tears, that wet, breaking, wonderful laugh. You showed up on the worst day of my life, she says, because 2 women decided, before we were born, that I'd never have to face it by myself. Looks like I was just late, he says, by about 23 years. Mother Agnes lowers herself into a chair with a long sigh, watching them both like she's finally set down something she's carried for months. They'd have loved this room, she says, looking around the children's wing, the murals, the map-faced kids, the noise of it. 2 women this city had no use for. And look, their children built a place where nobody gets turned away. Her old eyes shine. I spent years thinking I owed the church my silence. Turns out I owed 2 dead women a promise instead. Feels lighter. Elora crosses the room and hugs her, carefully, the way you'd hold something 400 years old and still the most alive thing in it. "Thank you," she whispers, for looking closer. "Oh, child," Mother Agnes pats her hand. "You made it very hard not to." There's no big speech, no swelling music, no confession shouted in the rain. He just holds out his hand. "For the record," she says, not taking it yet, "I still don't need rescuing." "I know. I never rescued you." He keeps his hand out, steady. "You walked off that street on your own 2 feet wearing my jacket, with my whole useless crew just standing there. I only didn't want you to walk the rest of it alone. There's a difference." "There's a difference," she agrees, softly. She takes it, and the man the whole city feared, and the woman the whole city mocked, walk out into the ordinary afternoon light. 2 kids of 2 forgotten mothers, keeping a promise older than both of them, fingers laced together like they were always meant to be. And if you're wondering whether people really change, whether a whole city can look at someone it mocked and admit out loud that it was wrong, the answer is standing right there on the sidewalk, holding her hand, wearing every mark the world told him to hide like it's a language only the 2 of them can read. The camera doesn't need to say anything else. If Elora's story moved you even a little, her whole world lives on this channel, real people the world wrote off, waiting for someone patient enough to look closer. Subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Because the truth is simple, nobody is a stain, and the Lord, and anyone worth knowing, looks at the heart.